Here we go, you guys. Hopefully, well, right now we are live and hopefully you can actually hear me. It looks like you can, and I have the microphone here. If you can, and if you're joining me live, hello, hello. And please let me know that you can actually hear me well and you can see me. And technology is not playing a trick on us today. If you have no idea who I am, and this is the first time that we're meeting, hello, hello, and welcome to the weekly update. My name is Meshi, and I chat with you every single week here on this channel. And we talk about not only what's happening, I kind of give you guys a little bit of an update on astrologically what's happening, but I also kind of give you a little bit of energetic update. We pull some cards and we kind of look at the theme. What is the theme of the week? So essentially, that's what we're going to be doing today. Take a moment if you're just dropping in whatever you were doing up to this point within your Sunday. Take a moment to really arrive here because it's so important. And if you're not familiar with me, I'm an energetic worker. I'm a massage therapist. I do so many different things, but I'm ultimately a guide that I'm here to kind of guide you along in finding a way to really use spiritual tools, spirituality, and mindfulness. Hi, Caroline. How are you? Find all of those things so that you can use them in a really practical way. That's essentially how I love to kind of place myself out in the world of what I do. Hopefully, you can actually hear me and see me. And we're going to get right into it. It took me literally 20 minutes just to be able to connect. For some reason, tech was just not on my side today. I think it's feeling the energies of the beautiful sun as it's shining through my office here. A couple of things I wanted to mention. If you guys didn't really do much of grounding on Friday for Earth Day, I think I'm going to actually link it here. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you absolutely should, because I generally do a live update on Instagram every single week, every single Friday. And this Friday, it was very different because I wasn't just pulling cards like I do here. I was also guiding a practice, and we're going to be getting more and more into that as the weeks go on, because now I'm opening up my schedule where you can actually practice with me live. This Friday was special because it was very dedicated to Earth Day. So we did a lot of grounding. I sort of forgot to mention that, like, if you haven't done any sort of practices going into Earth Day and you wanted to honor Mother Gaia, one really beautiful way of doing that is obviously working with your crystals. So I do have the tiger's eye here. I do have a clear quartz here. Having your crystals with you, working with them in a really intentional way, I think is so beautiful. And you can also, if you wanted to honor the earth, one beautiful way of doing that is you can actually take your crystals and you can bury them, and kind of you can either create a grid, or you can just literally bury them. So then you use it as an offering back to the earth, which is always very beautiful. Let's get right into this. So, what are we doing today? I wanted to briefly touch on what were sort of the themes that were kind of coming through, what is sort of the guidance that already came through, and then we're going to pull some cards and really untangle it a little bit more. So, the themes that were coming through in the last week had more to do with old patterns, but old patterns are reemerging. And we've been talking a lot about old patterns before, but what's different here is old patterns of your own ego, of how you, so it's not so much the conflict that kind of comes up that you feel from other people. It's more like old patterns of how you used to behave with those old triggers. So whether that's a positive thing that happens or it's an actual trigger that happens, what was kind of coming through is how do you handle them? What is like your default go to, and has that changed? Because I feel like right now most of you are going to be going through this shift. I also feel like most of you are going to be quite exhausted, which is very normal. I also feel like you're going to be potentially feeling, you may be feeling some ascension symptoms, which is absolutely normal because there's so much shift that is happening. If you're following the Schumann resonance, you absolutely should, because as it surges, that will absolutely affect you. So you might not feel like you're on purpose. You might not feel like you're on time with whatever you're manifesting, whatever you're trying to like kind of unfold. Definitely new chapters are really old chapters are kind of coming to an end, and we're really releasing the people and anything that it's sort of like when you kind of draw the line, and then anything outside of that line is going to fall away. And it's going to fall away not because you place focus on it or attention on it, but because it's no longer in alignment. It just needs to fall away. The other thing that was really interesting is how your energy, and pay attention to this even in the next coming weeks, is how your energy shifts when you're outside. Most of us knows that there is just so much to be said about the sun, but there's so much to be said about the sun because if you're spending time outdoors consciously, really taking the time to really connect with nature and really notice the things that are around you with a sense of, almost like with a sense of wonder, rather than just that's a tree, these are grasses, that looks like yard work. So don't think of it from a place of like really 3D thinking. Think of it from a place of like that's an energetic being, and I'm communicating with that right now because I'm placing my attention there for my energy, and like we're in the same energy field. So it's a little bit different, sort of like using it as a mindfulness practice. And when you use it as a mindfulness practice, you're allowing that experience to really give you the guidance that you need, if that makes sense. If you have questions about it, comment in the comments in the chat. But I feel like outdoors is always, it's always so nourishing for all of us because it has all of the elements and we have all of the elements within us. So when we're kind of taking the time to really bring clarity or really bring a shift in the way that we're feeling, that's one really beautiful way of doing that, is just spending a little bit of time outdoors. Especially like if you're here in North America, if you're in Canada, you would already know that one day it's summer, tomorrow it'll be fall, semi winter, then we're going to move into winter. So I mean, like things can shift very very quickly, and that kind of is the theme that we're sort of going to be rocking with going into the week. The other thing that came through is that look at your reality and your own perceived limitation, how you're perceiving your own limitation, and what is the stories that you kind of tell yourself. And to be honest, like that should be done on a monthly basis anyway. You can kind of take a look if you're using journaling as a way of personal development. It's a wonderful way for you to kind of gauge where you're at. I highly recommend journaling because it's astounding what comes through when you look back. So it's not so much in the moment. In the moment you'll feel like, "Ugh, like why, like we have like a thousand things to do." And it can be so easy to get caught up in that idea that you're so busy. And I hear this, oh my Lord. So I hear this all the time when, especially from moms. Well, it's almost like the identification of being a mom, or the identification of being female, or the identification of being a business owner, whatever, however people identify themselves with those roles that they play, they use that as a way of, it's almost like a mask. Like that's sort of the outer mask that we're using of why we're not prioritizing the things that can really lift us up. We're not prioritizing them because we're not understanding why we should prioritize it. Do you know what I mean? Like I can tell you a thousand different ways and thousand different reasons why you should eat better, or why you should sleep more, or like most of us already kind of know this, but until something clicks within your own mind on a subconscious level, nothing will change. So just kind of knowing that and having that expectation, it already gives you a little bit more ease and a little bit more self-love towards yourself, and a little bit more softness and compassion, where you're not beating yourself up for something that you haven't trained yourself to do. You know what I mean? It's sort of like you're expecting yourself to know how to make this beautiful, authentic risotto when you never cooked before. Like, come on, let's work with us here. Not that risotto is hard, but it's just we don't start with risottos. We start with like mac and cheese. I don't know, maybe. I generally don't make mac and cheese all that often. I wanted to start pulling cards for the collective because, and I was so drawn to both the crystals that I have in front of me and the entire deck of crystals, that I just felt so called that we should work with it today. So that's what we're going to do. Let me just adjust my chair because I feel like it's being weird. Let me know in the comments, in the chat, how your week has been and if you did anything special for Earth Week, Earth Day. it really warmed my heart when I hear my daughter talk to me about like bamboos and being environmentally friendly. It's just like, oh, you make me so happy. If you look back on this channel, you will see that for a little bit, most of my content was actually really surrounding zero waste and green beauty. And it's so funny when I actually get a comment on one of my old videos about a green beauty product that I reviewed like back in the day. So I always kind of find that so interesting. Okay. I'm going to try not to butcher the name. It's rhodochrosite. Ooh, hang on, let me see. There we go. We can actually see it. How stunning are we? Can we please talk about this? Can I please have this card? I mean, can I please have this crystal? It's so beautiful. Remembering your worth. I feel like there's so much more to this than that, but it kind of goes back to your old patterns actually. To me, this kind of goes back to almost like understanding your old default. What is your default? Are you upgrading what your default reaction is to things? You know? Are you ready to upgrade it? I feel like some of you aren't. I feel like we're going to be inviting like a lot of softness and a lot of gentleness into this coming week. I feel like most of you are just so exhausted, partially because half the people that we know have COVID and the other half are just really trying to move with the shift and doing the same things that you were doing and then moving with the shift and then evolving at the same time and integrating at the exact same time can be so exhausting. We have nurturing. I am the spark, a spark of divinity. I mean, we all are. It's understanding that that inner power is always within us. It's always, it's always within us, but it's just, I think what's going to happen and what I think where we are going collectively essentially is sort of like remembering, and it has to be a form of remembering. It's not something that you newly discover. It has to be a form of remembering where you understand and you see your own value in a different way of how you contributed to society, how you really show up, and then what you will tolerate and what you will not tolerate. So it's almost like there's a lot of that reframing, recalibration that is happening that's very much under the surface. So don't be too hard on yourself if you're finding that you're too exhausted to deal with anything extra this week and you had a hard time dealing with anything extra. Nice, 2 cards come through. First, we have the 6 of Cups, very much just continuing to nurture. But to me, this is almost like nurturing everything that's within you. So it's not so much on the outside. It's not so much, yes, partially this to me, it also feels like you're sort of doing the routines, but you're doing the routines in a way right now, most of your energy really, really, really needs to kind of focus back into you, as especially, good Lord, especially if you're an empath. Please start doing things for you from the paradigm that you actually want to create for yourself. Because I feel like for so long, we've been sitting on the sidelines and kind of waiting some sort of magical unicorn to come in and not only save us, but like it's beyond that. It's giving us permission to is it my time yet? Can I go now? Or do I have to still create some space? And like as an empath myself, it's just sort of like, oh, let me just like tippy toe around, make sure that nobody's feelings are hurt, and make sure that is it okay? Can we go? Is that all right if I speak? Oh, that is so beautiful. I feel like right now you're going to be working a lot with crystals. But I feel like right now we're going to move away from collecting a bunch of crystals, moving into that space of actually working consciously with crystals. So a little bit different than I just need all my crystals with me. Why? Why do you feel like you need them? Allow them to actually work their magic. Allow them to set the intentions. Sunday, we also have the new moon that's going to be coming up, which also means that there's going to be an invitation for you to either solidify and deepen your intention that you are setting or set new intentions into the new season. So we're going to be moving into the new moon in Taurus. And I just feel like right now we're going to be kind of weaning that energy back in, and really we're going to step a little bit away from like look at me and like look at all of these things that we're manifesting. And I feel like because there's a sense of I it's almost like when you watch a movie and then you finish watching the movie and then you kind of see like, okay, now it's the credits. And then the attention immediately shifts away from like watching the screen into back into you. And that's kind of what's happening. Like that micro moment where the attention can get poured back into you because it's like, oh, that thing is done now. We can kind of like move into that next phase. And that's where we're at right now. When it's like, okay, full moon is finished, we're shifting where we're losing light. But when you're losing light, there's also like it's almost like you're taking the steps down to the basement into the darkness. And when you go downstairs, and you go downstairs but with a sense of both ease and with the intention of curiosity rather than with the intention of fear, then you're kind of opening up the doors for you to actually see what is there for you. Because look, we have the Six of Cups and then we also have Temperance. And to me, this is all about really, to me, Temperance always feels like really taking this deep dive into your own inner intellect, honoring where you are, and really embracing not only the light, not only the parts that are like nice and shiny and pretty and like polished up, but then the parts of you that are not so shiny. And especially when you look at it with a sense of curiosity, you can really find, ooh, why was that my actual default? Was there some truth to that? And did that shift? Like, did that trauma pass? And then I'm still kind of operating from that place of scarcity. I'm still operating from that place of there isn't enough out there for me. How can I kind of articulate what my actual needs are and what does that new paradigm really look like? If I could orchestrate this entire reality for myself, what does that really look like? What does it feel like when I'm thriving? How do you feel? Who's around you? Who's supporting you? And what does true acceptance actually feel like? So it's almost like you're going to be invited to really start asking yourself deeper questions than just, you know, are we going to are we going to survive? Yes, you can already do that right now. Most of us have mastered that. And like most of us have mastered it in this lifetime. Right now, you're ascending. So allow yourself to actually get to that space and then bring that into physical reality. Because if you're creating practices that really support that, you're going to have a really hard time kind of coming back to scarcity and coming back from like really operating from a place of lack. Does that make sense? Like, it's just sort of like we've moved past certain things. So allow whatever's waiting for you, create some space for it. Create energetic space, physical space, emotional space. What will that feel like? And can you actually hold that vibration? So that's the other thing too, where most of us just really want this fully abundant, fully like really rich and beautiful life, but yet we don't create space for it. It's so funny. It's sort of like you could have the healthiest, most beautiful body, and you have it today, but yet you're so focused on like the micro problems that your body presents. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, to me, it's just like, well, the more you're focused on the micro problems, you're never going to see the actual blessing that's in front of you. So how about we start creating practices that actually help you shift? Because it's such a path and it's such a progress. It's not a, okay, cool, I'm manifesting now. Are you? Oh no, you seem pretty miserable to me. You know what I mean? So I just kind of feel like there's a lot of that softness that needs to be invited. There's a lot of, spending. I'm keep getting like spend time outdoors, you guys. I'm keep getting that you need to spend time outdoors and really create habits. Have your people around you that are actually supportive. That was like a whole other thing with people because I'm kind of getting that most of you are kind of going through like this purging of friends and colleagues of like who you share your actual deepest, most honest truth with. So that was another interesting thing to kind of see of like, really? Okay, let me see what is coming in. Ooh, who is not surprised to see this? The Hierophant. You will not only To me, the Hierophant, yeah, as much as we are meditating here, but it's just so much more than that. To me, this could be really sun gazing. To me, this could be, listening to sound healing. To me, this could be so many different things that you find healing. And that's all it is can you create like a pocket of space for you to be able to kind of connect deeper with something that is not that you don't see like with your physical eye, because I think that so many of us are shifting, but it's sort of like there's that sense of confusion of like, ooh, do I work with my tarot deck? Do I work with my crystals? Do I journal? Like, do I sun gaze? Do I ground? Like, what do I do? And it's sort of like it's going to change for each of you based on where you are at and what are you being guided to do. So it's very much like the invitation of, will you listen to your own inner compass so that you kind of get like what you need in the next moment, because nobody on the outside will be able to really feel into it as truthfully as you. And sometimes through action you kind of feel, ooh, that resonates, even though it doesn't make any sense, but it resonates, like ugh. And you might actually be annoyed that it resonates, and I'm sorry, because I was too. That's just how it is. Like, it's as much of a surrender and an ego death as it is a manifestation. But just know that if you're being tested and there's a lot of that invitation and nudges that are coming through, please listen to that and see how you feel in the process. What did we talk about? We talked about judgment. But to me, judgment is all about, like, I feel like for the most part, we're actually significantly harsher on ourselves than we are on other people. Like, we're so much more forgiving with other people, especially if we like them. Which also means that for the most part, you might find that through the triggers that were kind of coming up in the last couple of weeks for most of you, you might also find that you might kind of want to almost like question your own decision, or, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. Um, not just question the decision that you made. So maybe you have taken some steps of like, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to stand in my own power. I'm going to set those boundaries, whatever you were doing in the past like week or so. And then you might have that little voice. And again, this is not coming from the outside. It's literally coming from your own ego that says, oh, are you sure? You might be losing money with that. Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you didn't just create this whole situation with this other person and you're just projecting your insecurity? And please remember your worth. Please. Oh my God, please. Please just remember why you decided, especially if you're making decisions from a place of balance and love. You're not making a decision from a place of lack, fear, insecurity, being triggered, like you're not speaking from that space. Then yeah, then you know what, like, allow your ego to kind of run its little programming and know that it's a very temporary thing and it will shift and it will kind of subside. Because if you allow your ego to kind of run the show, then you will continue to happily receive all of the nice and boring programming that you have been receiving up to this point. So you have to kind of understand that at some point, we need to change the programming in order for us to get a different outcome. Underlying energy of all of this is the Eight of Cups, and Eight of Cups is all about, to me, the Eight of Cups is actually continuously working on it, continuously showing up, continuously creating the things, even, oh, and even if it's annoying, even if you don't feel like it, even if you're just like, who wants to get up at 6 in the morning? Not me. Even when your mind is fighting you on it, even then, will you show up? Will you do the thing? Will you allow all of those doubts to creep in and then let them go? Can you see them like the rainfall dropping down to the ground and being absorbed back into the earth? Can you see that? Because that's just as much part of, the releasing and the letting go and the surrender as it is to, like, we've played, all I'm saying is we've played that game. We've already listened to the ego, the lack, the insecurity. We've already leaned into that. Again, if you're a light worker, you're an empath, you've already kind of ran that cycle. How about we start a new one today? How about we kind of step into what would it feel like if you went full on all in on you, believed in who you are, what you do, and poured all of that love that you were pouring into other people that couldn't give two shits about it? What if you did that for yourself? What would that feel like? What would it feel like if you stopped talking yourself out of those goals? I don't know. Maybe, and what if you didn't set crazy timelines that would say, oh yeah, it's gonna take like 2 months. What if it takes 2 years? Who cares? Are you enjoying the process? Are you are you getting nudges that says, yeah, you're on the right path. Just keep going. Just put your head down and just keep going. Because if you are, then you're being guided and you're allowing yourself to be guided, but then you're also allowing your ego to kind of be left in the back seat where it belongs. So interesting week, to say the least. I definitely feel like a lot of you are going through these crazy transformations where you're always going to be continuously be invited to kind of return back to who you are, what feels true to you, and that can be so foreign for a lot of you because we're not. It's not normalized. We're just getting to that space where it's getting normalized. You know what I mean? So because it's not normalized, you're just like. It just feels like it might make you feel like it's like a cringe moment. You know what I mean? Where like, I don't feel like listening to that voice. And like, that's okay. It will keep returning back to you. So don't worry. Even if you don't manifest the thing that you thought that you would kind of, that would drop in, it could be something very small that is dropping in. I don't know. Or it could be something that you've been working on for years and you're kind of getting those nudges right now. And even if you're not getting like the full external validation just yet, it's okay. Like, just like honestly, use the weather as basically a guide because from one day to the next, it can shift so drastically. And we're okay with accepting that, but yet we're not okay with accepting the same level of transformation that can take place for us. Isn't that weird? Like, we create like these weird paradigms and belief systems and patterns that are like not really based on anything that is remotely what we see in real life or in cycles or when you learn from nature. Is that weird? I find it interesting. I'm going to be here for the next little bit. If you would like me to pull a card for you of what you need to know, I'm not making it specific. There's no specific questions of when will you get married next. Like, no, none of that. It's basically a general. It's a general guidance of like, boom, this is what you need to know. And it could be related to your relationship. It could be related to your career, to your personal growth. It could be related to your relationship with your dog. I don't know. We never know kind of what comes through, which is kind of half the fun. I feel like I also promised someone that I would pull a card. Yes, I did. While you're deciding if you want me to pull a card for you or not, Johanna, this one is for you because I very much. Oh my gosh, you're seeing me live. That's so cool. You caught the live stream today. And just drop your name so I know who I'm actually pulling the card for. Joe, this one is for you. Oh my God. Okay. Kind of on the same lines as what we were talking about a moment ago. We have Be Kind to Yourself and Pink Opal, and we have Challenge. And essentially, the message is through the process of through that process of shifting and changing, and while you're going through your own sense of surrender, also allow like a sense of softness and gentleness to kind of come through because not everybody's going to be joining you on your journey and not everybody's going to be meeting you at the same spot where you are in your own inner journey. So the invitation here is for you to not only see when you're being tested and it's almost like embrace the tests that are kind of coming in because there's something very beautiful about that, that also means that you're not only aligned, but it means that whatever you're trying to manifest is dropping in. And but being gentle with yourself in the process of all of that is very important. And it's sort of like, just don't allow other people's energies to really affect how you kind of go about it. Take your own pace, but then also just release the expectations that it should be different and others should kind of honor where you're at. And when you can release that, then things can shift and you might be able to speed up timelines. So you're giving yourself that opportunity to really go with the flow rather than I will go with the flow if, you know. So that's your message in simple terms. Okay. I only have your I only have like your username is RG. Let's see what's coming up for you. I swear some of the times these cards are like so interconnected with each other. Okay, your message is I'm keep saying your message is simple. It always hey Roxanne. It's always simple, but I mean, is it ever simple? First we have acceptance, and then we have melanchite. And melanchite is time to transform. And I'm trying to move back. So here we go. So you can see it. Right now we're fighting against the sun, which is not a bad thing. Okay. So basically your message is while you're if you're kind of shedding the old and inviting the new, there's aspects of yourself that is really inviting you to integrate. So I'm not getting acceptance like you're rejecting parts of yourself. I'm kind of getting that it's almost like you wish that it was different than what is. So invite invite that sense of softness in a way that it's almost like you're embracing what you perceive to be a weakness, because it's not really a weakness, but the way that you're framing it is a weakness. Kind of confusing, I know. Accepting and loving yourself, it sounds fantastic, but the way that I'm kind of getting accepting and loving yourself is sort of like you're looking at the duality of how you are as a person, which means that there's going to be the absolute light and embrace the light instead of like kind of dimming it down so that you don't make other people feel uncomfortable, and then looking at the shadow, and instead of making excuses for the shadow, embrace the two, that they're both parts of you and they're both beautiful, because the two interminglement allow you to kind of move through your own path in a way that it allows you to like drop into where you are today. So if those two elements were not working the way that they're commingling and adjusting your path, then you wouldn't be here. Isn't that funny? But you will never be able to see it that way if all we're focusing in on is just the light, just the light, just the light. And then and even then within the light, we're not embracing the light. You know what I mean? Even within the light, we're not really looking at it like how much of a blessing it is, and then gathering people around so that you can shine out to them, so that you're giving them permission to shine as well. So embrace that part of yourself, and then but also don't be afraid to shapeshift and change who you think you are, because that's ever changing. So be okay with that shift that takes place, because we're always continuously changing and evolving and growing and expanding. So it's almost like the invitation is always there to like who am I? Like who is this person? Who is this soul that wants to really express itself in the world today? So if you're always kind of looking at it with a sense of curiosity rather than with a sense of like, "Ugh, this sucks about me," and you know what I mean? Like if you're looking at it with a sense of literally with a sense of openness and curiosity, you're creating this beautiful spaciousness where you can kind of flow and figuring out through action and through movement. You will always get a lot more feedback through resonance, so energetic resonance, and through action. So sometimes we can kind of contemplate and be in our heads all day long. And then, but really, until you kind of bring it back into the physical vessel, into the body, take action. Does this resonate? Does it not? I thought it would. It's completely terrible. Or, ooh, I didn't think that I would really love this, but I'm a different person here. So just really invite curiosity into who you are becoming, because for the most part, all we really understand about ourselves is just our conditioning. And when you kind of shed a lot of that old belief system, you're creating space for you to really get to know who you are. That's your message in a nutshell. I hope that resonates. I don't know how they became a long message, but that's what came through today. Interesting, interesting, interesting. This is all I have for you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this very sunny, very difficult tech live. I'm going to be back next week. Quick announcement: if you wanted to at least try out the grounding meditation that I've guided on Instagram for Earth Day, I'm going to link it here in the comments, and I will pin it at the top so you can check that out. As of next week, I'm happy to announce that I'm going to be teaching live meditation classes, which I can't even tell you how excited I am about that, because I'm going to be teaching those of you that don't practice regularly. So the idea is to really teach you about mindfulness and meditation for those of you that have never practiced before, explain it in a non-weird way. But then in my own private little community, I'm looking at creating more regular practices with a theme for each week. So instead of just this week, we're just doing this one technique, I want to kind of theme it. Like for Earth Week, it was all about grounding, but even within that, it's sort of like a journey, because even though I'm using a very basic technique that is suitable for beginners, I still wanted to allow you to take the path or the journey that you will. And it's always going to be a different experience. So if you wanted to check that out, I will leave links for that. And if you wanted to work with me privately, that's also coming really soon. And in the meanwhile, hope you guys have a fantastic week, and hope you guys will get a chance to actually drop in and practice a little bit of meditation, practice a little bit of mindfulness in the next week, because the new moon is also coming up on Sunday. And I will see you guys next Sunday. Hopefully I can actually log in at 5:55 Eastern time. Have a great week, and I'll see you guys soon.